Welcome back to the channel, y'all. This is Coach Hussein, aka the Militant One with Fight Camp Eternal, and I want to do some backtracking. One thing I didn't do, the first thing I should have done, and I apologize to you guys for not doing this, is go over your fighting stance. Your fighting stance is, or the fighting stance is tricky because there is no universal way to have a fighting stance. Maybe there is. It depends on who's teaching you, okay? If you're a boxer, your fighting stance will be likely this here, okay? If you're a Thai fighter or you like to throw kicks, you probably would have a wider stance, okay? Now, depending on the discipline, that's going to determine your fighting stance. So, for example, if you're a karate fighter, if you're doing Taekwondo, your stance could be this. To show you a complete angle, your stance could be like this. As a boxer, you have a more tight guard. But also as a boxer, you can have a high guard. You can also have a stance where your lead hand is lazy, where you have the lazy jab that comes in, okay? And you're still in a bladed stance. Some of you can even have a wide stance with a lazy jab. I'll face the camera again. You can have a wide stance with a lazy jab, okay? A bladed stance with a lazy jab or a lazy lead hand, okay, with the rear hand still here. What's universally recognized is the rear hand stays right here. There is no fighting stance when you just have both of your hands to your side this way, okay? For you to have a fighting stance like this, you have to have excellent head movement, like top tier head movement to have a fighting stance this way. Doesn't mean it can't be effective. That's essentially what you need to have, okay? Because it doesn't make sense. So have a stance like this with your hands right here by your waist, and if someone throws a punch, you bring it up here. If someone throws a punch, and I can just come this way, face the camera, someone throws a punch, and I can just slip this way, then I don't need to bring my hands up, okay? So it's really a matter of stick head movement and body movement. Another thing to go over when it comes to your fighting stance is the areas of the body that you can attack in your stance, that your opponent can attack in their stance. For example, if I'm here in a wide stance, some people will say, well, you're leaving your whole body open, which is true, but is it really true? Because if a person decides to go for an attack to the midsection, I can deflect with either hand, okay? I can even use my elbows to deflect, okay? I can simply easily just step back or lean back, depending on what that is. I can also lean back and parry, okay? One rule about your fighting stance, it does matter what your fighting stance is, but you can block any attack in your fighting stance, okay? Virtually any attack. Now that doesn't mean if I'm here in a stance like this and someone throws a round kick, I can come up this way, okay? And check the kick that way. Because what I don't want to do is lose my balance. I don't want to come here and then fall this way, all right? If I fall off, that means that kick was too powerful and my stance wasn't sturdy enough to block it or check it. In a wider stance, however, if they throw that check, I can just bring it up. Boom. I check. Boom. And it works the same way from the opposite angle. Boom. 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 Okay? If I'm in a bladed stance and my opponent throws a roundhouse kick, I can still check it. Here. Okay? Here. I can still check. Here. Alright? And if I'm in a bladed stance and they throw the roundhouse kick coming this way, if they're in the same stance as me, here. So I can still make sure I can check. It's just a matter of how sturdy am I when I check a leg kick. And the same thing with the body shot. Okay? If they throw a body shot, I can just swipe away and then come back down top. Come over top of their head. Okay? It works the same way. I can block here, come back up. But one thing I want to go over when you're in your fighting stance is it's not just the position where your hands are, it's also your arms, okay? Because some people say put your hands up, and anyone who's undisciplined or untrained, they'll have their hands right here in a stance like this, okay? You see how wide open my body is right here? Now, it doesn't mean I can't block a body shot. I can bring my hands down here, okay? Because in the Thai stance, they tend to have a high guard, okay? In a Thai stance, you can still block the body shots. Here, 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 here. Now, that may leave you susceptible to a counter striking. They can fake a body shot here and then come over top this way. So if I decide to block the body here and then come this way, that'll work. They can do the same thing the opposite way. Here, here. Okay? Just like that. Okay? So when it comes to your fighting stance, you have to find out what's comfortable for you. Okay? Whether you're in orthodox or southpaw. Okay? You can have a low hand or you can have high hands. Okay? A tight guard or you have an open guard. Okay? From this angle, I'll show you again. I can have a standard guard here. I can have a bladed stance. I can have a wide stance, high guard, low hanging fruit for that matter, for the sake of argument, just to throw that out there. Okay? But I'm not going to do this. No one's going to fight like this. They can, like Anderson Silva would do in his prime. Okay? But generally, you want to have at least one hand up, your rear hand. Okay? Lead hand can be up. Lead hand never goes higher than the rear hand. No one fights like this. Okay? You shouldn't fight like this. This is actually egregious when it comes to your fighting stance. Okay? Your lead hand should never be higher than your rear hand. Your rear hand can be higher than the lead hand. The lead hand should either be as high as the rear hand, no higher than that. Okay, so I can have a stance where my hands are here, my hand can be here, my hand can even be here, or I can have what is like a Philly shell. This type of stance, okay? Even if I'm in wide or bladed, okay? Your stance is up to you. You have to find a stance that works for you and you have to make it work, okay? But you also have to be mindful of how you're going to defend your opponent's strikes in your stance. Okay? Just wanted to film this quick video. I'm going to have more footage. The next video, the series we get into, is going to be focused on striking. Okay? Stay tuned in. Stay tuned into the channel. Keep it locked here. Once again, this is Coach Hussein, aka the Militant One with Fight Camp Eternal. I will see you all in the next video.